Country with a long-debated influence on American politics is Washington's so-called closest ally in the Middle East, Israel. A recent heated exchange on a British TV show between a guest and a former Palestinian militant turned Israeli defector with close ties to Israeli intelligence has reignited discussions about just how far that influence reaches.
Anyone who gets in the way, it doesn't matter where they are. Even if they are politicians in the West, they are going to fall.
Hold on. Did you hear what he just said? He threatened politicians in the West that if they don't agree with Israel's war against Iran, that they're going to fall. And remember, he's an Israeli agent. Are you saying Israel will murder politicians in the West or get rid of them politically through bribery or whatever else? What do you mean the politicians in the West will fall if they don't agree to back Israel's war against Iran?
We live in democracy, and we have the right to bring them up and to bring them down. Those who agree with Ayatollah, we don't want them in office.
Are these just strong words coming from an Israeli agent, or is there a solid foundation behind such bold warnings and a confidence that Israel could get away with anything? Nearly 2 decades ago, Professor John Mearsheimer co-authored The Israel Lobby and U.S. Foreign Policy, detailing the extensive reach of pro-Israel groups on Washington's foreign policy. Today, he says, that influence remains as strong as ever. The major thing that's changed is that it now operates openly.
The Israel Lobby is now forced to play smash-mouth politics, right? And you saw this in the case of Claudine Gay and the president of Penn, both of whom have been forced to resign, in large part because of the efforts of the lobby. And we have this powerful lobby in the United States, the Israel Lobby, that goes to great lengths to make sure that the United States supports Israel unconditionally. You want to understand that word, unconditionally, really matters. What the lobby is interested in doing is pushing the United States to support Israel no matter what it does.
At the center of Israeli influence is AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, a powerful lobbying group that works to build bipartisan support for the U.S.-Israel relationship, as its official page goes, backing pro-Israel politicians both in the executive branch and in Congress.
It wasn't that long ago in the Democratic caucus, including the leadership of the party, when if AIPAC said jump, we'd say how high. It was pretty reflexive. I came to be bothered by that, and a lot of members were bothered. A lot more members were bothered by that than cast votes that indicated that.
Using significant resources, AIPAC engages with members of Congress, Democrats, Republicans, and independents alike, shaping policies that are favorable to Israel.
Everybody but me has an AIPAC person.
What does that mean, an AIPAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your AIPAC babysitter, who is always talking to you for AIPAC. They're probably a constituent in your district, but they are, firmly embedded in AIPAC. And
every member has something like this?
I don't know how it works on the Democrat side, but that's how it works on the Republican side.
And this influence has never come cheap. With the controversial war in Gaza, the price tag has only grown. Securing support for what some call a genocidal war requires substantial funds. According to the latest data from the U.S. Federal Election Committee, AIPAC, an AIPAC-affiliated United Democracy Project, has spent more than $100 million on federal elections this cycle, way more than previous years.
We have watched as AIPAC has done everything it can to silence growing dissent in Congress against Netanyahu's assault on Gaza, even as Democratic voters overwhelmingly support a ceasefire and oppose sending more blank checks to the Israeli military.
Israeli lobby groups invest heavily to back favorable politicians, but also to unseat critics. Before Missouri's primary, they spent over $9 million to defeat a Democratic representative who called for a Gaza ceasefire and also opposed military aid to Israel. In a similar case in New York, $14 million went towards ousting a congressman who accused Israel of genocide.
And they want to create a situation where everybody lives in fear of being what I call Corbynized. This is what happened to Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn was the Labour leader in Britain, and he was critical of Israel. And what the lobby in Britain did was they waged a highly successful campaign to portray him as one of the world's great anti-Semites. And they basically ended his career as a politician as a result of their effective campaign. And American policymakers live in fear that the lobby will target them and ruin their political career.
And this results in American policies and politicians prioritizing Israeli interests, sometimes at the expense of what might be best for the U.S.
There are lobbying groups, open lobbying groups like AIPAC, which basically agencies of the Israeli government, which are constantly twisting the arms of people in Congress.
The war in Gaza is a blatant example. Washington's stance increasingly differs from Israel's, with disagreements between the two allies surfacing repeatedly. American leaders have expressed concerns, issued warnings, and even condemned Israel's actions. But so far, it's been just talk, with Israel pressing forward on its own course.
From an American point of view, the best situation that could obtain in the Middle East is one of peace and stability, so that the United States didn't have to pay much attention to the Middle East or the greater Middle East and could focus instead on East Asia. But that's not happened. And this is just more evidence of the extent to which Israel is a strategic liability for the United States. Israel gets the United States, in this case, into deep trouble in Gaza.
Iran is another sticking point. The U.S. has sought to ease tensions with Tehran, but this goal clashes with Israel's interests, as it views Iran as its top enemy.
So they're going to make their decisions. We are going to make decisions about our interests. We're here responding to an Iranian attack that we, along with Israel primarily, were able to successfully defeat, that Iran launched because Israel has taken out the leaders of a terrorist organization. And that's something we support them doing. Those are steps that the United States would take as well.
But despite massive support from the U.S., it seems to be not enough for Israel, which complains that it has to restrict and limit its steps due to Washington's opposition, like what happened with the Israeli response to Iran. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wants to see the next American president, allowing him to spread his military wings even further.
The supreme objective that I have set for the IDF and the security services is to prevent Iran from attaining nuclear weapons. Halting the nuclear program has been and remains our chief concern. I have not taken, we have not taken, and we will not take our eyes off this objective. Obviously, I cannot detail our plans to achieve this ultimate goal.
Out of two candidates, former U.S. President Donald Trump looks more suitable for making the Israeli Prime Minister's plans come true.
I think he's going to do what he wants to do, and I think he has to do that. You know, Biden was giving him some very bad instructions not to do anything, and Israel was under great danger.
If Trump wins the election, it would reflect a clear choice of American voters. But additionally, it may also underscore the level of influence of the Israeli lobby in shaping U.S. electoral results. Marie van Oceana, RT, from Jerusalem.